want to make money in pig farming. All of us, we want to make money, and not only money, good money, profits. Thank you so much. All pig farmers, God bless you for coming. Whether you have zero, or whether you want to be converted, be sure you leave this place converted. Gonna make you a pig farmer. We don't have much. I don't have much to say, but I want us to have Dr. Osoro from the Directorate of Veterinary Services in Kabete giving us a word or some intro or something that we're going to carry forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Leonida Osoro. I work with the State Department of Livestock, the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock, Fisheries and Cooperatives. We are still expecting the county people to be here because the county are the one who works with you direct. The national government basically deals with policy and setting standards for the country. But still, the issues will always revolve all around ourselves. So I have a small presentation. We look at the overview of the pig industry in Kenya, the statistics we have. Then we have produced standards for production of pigs in the country. So we will have an overview of the same. The Directorate of Veterinary Services mainly is concerned with matters to do with diseases. And diseases are controlled by doing biosecurity. So we will look at the biosecurity we need to have at the farm level. Then we'll have a brief of some of the pig diseases. And then we look at what are the good practices. I had tailored my presentation to small-scale farm. I realized we have large-scale farmers with us, but still the same applies. Then I'll finish with issues of pig semen in the country. So I think all of us know that the pig industry is one of the fast-growing enterprises in the country. We have a really increasing demand for pig and pig products, and these are being driven by the fact that pigs have a short life cycle, they have a high feed conversion efficiency, and they are highly prolific. So if you get it well, the profits will really come from that industry. So I'll say you are in the right industry, and you will really make the gains you need if everything is done right there. Then in Kenya, we have around 110,389 households with a population of around 595,631 pigs. This was from a survey done by the State Department of Livestock in last year, 2020. The meta breeds which are kept in the country, we have large whites. That is the highest population. Then we have some Landrace, Duroc, Hampshire, Pietrin, and their crosses. Those are the major breeds found in this country. The pig production systems in this country, we have commercial pig production, whereby we have large, intensive, and small-scale farms. And then we have free-range traditional system. This still occurs in the western part of the country. Then this statistics is for 2020. We had pork production of around 14,440 metric tons, which was valued at around 3.8 million Kenyan shillings. And the estimated annual requirement of pork in the country is 19,033 metric tons. So you can see there is a deficit of around 5,000 metric tons. And the way the industry is going, still there will be that deficit. So we need really to see how we can be able to take care of that deficit. Then we have, as a Directorate of Veterinary Services, come up with standards for production of pigs in the country. These are aimed at helping farmers like us on what to look for when we are breeding for pigs. So the breeding objectives for the standards is to breed high quality pigs with emphasis on production, reproduction, and conformational traits. So those are really quite important when you're doing selection purposes. That is the production, functional, and reproductive traits. The productional traits of importance considered in these standards were the birth weights, the weaning weights, the growth rate, the carcass traits, and the feed conversion efficiency of these pigs. Then we have the functional traits. These included the stature, the body capacity, feet and legs, the teeth, where it will be ideal to have 12 teeth which are free of supernumerary teeth, the loin, longevity, and issues to do with temperament. Then on reproductive traits, the ones of importance here are conception rates, farrowing ease, the farrowing rates, the litter size, weaning weight rates, and weaning to estrus interval. Those would really be key. Then we had what standards could be used for selection of Kenya bred sows. If somebody was to select sows, what will he base his criteria on? So he was saying the farm should be a member of the respective breed society. I don't know how many of us here have their pigs registered with Kenya Stud Book. Or have you ever heard about Kenya Stud Book? No, we've never had. Okay, Kenya Stud Book is a farm organization which registers animals. It has mainly been dealing with dairy cattle, but they are expanding to all species. Because without an animal being registered, we cannot know its value. So the Kenya Stud Book registers animals, and we will require as farmers to have our farms registered so that we can be able to sell our animals. You know, when you sell your animal with what it has. If it's not registered, really, you cannot be able to prove that the animal has the qualities you are saying. So the farm and herd should be registered with Kenya Breeders Association. This is an organization based in Nakuru, and it is dealing with livestock registration. And then the sows should have an overall positive performance test results using breeding value estimates. So which are these estimates will let that sow you're selecting to have? You look at the litter size. How many number of piglets does this sow have per litter? The recommended should be around 10 to 12. Then they should have a fast growth rate. We are putting it at around 300 to 400 grams. That will be really profitable for you. Then the mature weights should be true to the breed. We realize we have different breeds with different weights, but we're saying for Landrace and large whites, the mature weight should be around 100 to 130 kgs at 7 to 8 months. These are some of the measures you can use even to evaluate your own farm and see how well are you doing, because this is just basic average. Then we have feed conversion efficiency. We need a feed utilization ratio of 3 kg of feed to 1 kg of meat. So our pigs getting to that level. Then we have a Mablin score. This is for the meat. It should have a scale of 2 to 3 with a scale of 1 to 10. Then we need sows which have a very good mothering ability in terms of the number of piglets weaned. Because we said if a good sow should be able to give 10 to 12 piglets. We expect her to wean 9 to 10 of those piglets. Then you will classify that as a very good sow recommended for use. For the boas, it's still we require them to be registered with Kenya Livestock Breeders Association, and the boa should also have positive breeding values. For the boa of importance will be a fast growth rate of average daily weight gains of 300 to 400 kilos. Then they should be able to do a feed conversion efficiency of 3 kg feed to 1 kg of meat. Then a Mablin score of around 2 to 3 in a scale of 1 to 10. And then it should be able to be done breeding soundness examination. That's where you are able to examine the reproductive parts of this bull and find that they are really satisfactory. This now should be done by a vet or an animal health technician. Okay, so.
On the marbling score, 2 to 3, so is 10 good, 2 to 3 minimum, or is it the opposite?
The marbling score is in a scale of 1 to 10. So 10 is maximum, where you have a lot of fat in that meat. Then 1 is where there's no much fat. So we require around 2 to 3. Okay. So back to the business of veterinary, that is biosecurity. So what is biosecurity? Because we have farms, and I've had many of us saying we've literally gone through a rough patch. And most of the roughest bit is the loss of our pigs. And what causes most of the losses is outbreak of diseases. So therefore, what can we do? The basic issue for prevention of diseases is having a biosecurity. So biosecurity, it involves implementation of measures that will reduce the risk of disease agents to be introduced to your farm. So you have measures in place as a farm to reduce the risk of introduction of diseases. What if disease comes? Then biosecurity will help to reduce the spread of diseases in that same farm. Are we together? One will prevent entry, but if it enters still, we can prevent the spread from one area of the piggery to the other. So that is biosecurity. And these measures, it's about adoption of attitudes and behavior. So it's about attitude and behavior that will really risk the introduction of diseases to your farm. And as I have explained, biosecurity measures are aimed at either one, avoid entry of pathogens, of disease-causing organisms into your herd or farm. And once they enter, if something happens, they enter, then we can we prevent the spread of diseases to affected animals. And for biosecurity, there are 3 main elements when we are talking about biosecurity. One, we have segregation. Segregation, this is creating barriers. You create barriers within your farm and outside, so that you prevent entry of this disease-causing organism. Then the other key piece is cleaning. You clean the vehicles, equipment, and people. This will be aimed at removing the infectious agents. If it's there, if there's somebody entering the farm with a vehicle or an equipment or a person, you do cleaning, thorough cleaning. That is to remove. Then after cleaning, then you go to the next step, that is disinfection. You are able to inactivate or destroy the pathogens after the cleaning. But sometimes we do disinfection without cleaning. It will not be effective. We have to do cleaning first, then we do the disinfection. Then we are able to inactivate. Okay. Good biosecurity practices which are recommended. One is quarantine of new pigs for at least 30 days. That will really help you to prevent entry of diseases to your farm. That is key. Then another practice is age segregation. You can do it either in groups, you rear the pigs in groups, or you do the design of the building in such a way that you have that age segregation of the different pigs in your farm. Another good practice that is being done and helping for control of diseases is an all-in, all-out management system. When you bring in all pigs, you manage them. When you finish them, they leave all in, all out. Then we have proper fencing of the farms that is aimed at controlling contact with the birds. Birds bring diseases. We have major viral diseases which are spread through birds, rodents, and cats, and dogs. So this is dogs, not pigs. So all those you will have to have a look at proper fencing and how to control them to enter to your farm. Then there is control of vehicles and people into the farm, where we recommend only authorized visitors are allowed to the farm. Then development of protocols at the farm level. Each farm should have a protocol, and this protocol should be followed strictly by visitors and vehicles. You don't overlook the protocol because this is your sister who has visited your farm. You don't overlook the protocol because this is a politician who wants to market your farm. You don't overlook the protocol because this is a vet who is coming to the farm. The protocols have to be followed strictly by everybody coming to the farm. It will also be important to have personal protective equipment for all visitors coming. That is an overall and gumboots and everything. And then follow cleaning and disinfection for all vehicles and people entering the farm. It will really be critical to have those protocols, and they should be strictly followed. Then we have regular and thorough cleaning and disinfection of the premises. Sometimes you find the premises are not washed daily, but they should be washed daily, regular and thorough. And then the disinfection is also important. Which are these infectious diseases of interest to us? Unfortunately, Kenya, we have like all of them. So we really need to struggle with these biosecurity measures so that we can be able to get away with them. We have one, we can classify them into four. We have infectious disease, which are transboundary. That means they don't have boundaries, they can cross over, and they are notifiable. Once it occurs in your farm, you need to let the county officers know that there is a disease and there are major threats to production and trade. This, one of them is foot and mouth disease. I know we've had them in our farms. We have African swine fever, another one which is highly lethal. It comes, it wipes away everything. Then we have classical swine fever and Ojeski disease. Then we have severe infectious diseases, which are also really have a major threat to production, but they may not be very in transboundary bit. So examples are transmissible gastroenteritis. Then we have porcine reproductive syndrome. Then we have endemic production diseases. These are the pneumonias, the diarrheas, and they are mainly management diseases. If you have very good management, very good cleaning and disinfection, you can be able to do away with the group 3 of endemic production diseases. Then we have zoonoses. Zoonoses, these are diseases which can be transmitted from animals to humans. And the examples include brucellosis, rabies, TB, and salmonella. So we really need to be aware, even as we are farmers, that we can get the diseases. So I'll go slightly down. We illustrated the 3 principles of biosecurity. Maybe it's something we'll consider on the practices now. What can you do for segregation purposes? One of the issues is to limit the number of sources of replacement stock. Have specific places where you can get replacement stock. You could have avoided many diseases if it is possible. Then the other bit, that's where I really work, is use of artificial insemination instead of moving around boas and sows. It will really be able to prevent diseases. How many are using artificial insemination in their farms? Yeah, it's there. Beautiful. It's something we recommend because it really eliminates most of those diseases. You bring in a boa, you don't know its source, then you get disease outbreak. Then we recommend quarantine or isolation of newly purchased animals, we say for at least 30 days. Then full fencing around and closed entrance to the farm. You have a really good fence around your farm and you have a closed entry. Nobody can access your farm except through one entry. You can install nets against the birds. Then you create a loading area or a bay in the farm whereby you're able to clean those vehicles before they get into the farm. Then you have specific clothing and footwear for use in the farm. That will really eliminate introduction. Some of the workers who are working with us, they don't live within the farm, they go out and come in. Where they go, you may not be sure who they go in contact with. In strict commercial farm, they say you house the workers within the premises so that you limit that spread of diseases. Maybe another thing to indicate here, sometimes vets are the ones spreading diseases. Be careful when they come to your farm because they have been to other farms. So they really have to really clean and disinfect before they enter. If it's possible, we have a permanent housing for the pigs, do parasite control, manure management, you do composite manure and then you spread it. That will really limit the introduction of diseases. For cleaning, we recommend you have a lower pressure washer for washing of those gumboots, equipment, and any vehicles entering the farm. Cleaning of vehicles will be key. Cleaning of the premises and footwear cleaning station within the farm. This will really help if the infection is within that person or the vehicle so that it doesn't get into the farm. Then for disinfection, we have to disinfect the vehicles after cleaning them. There are different disinfectants in the market, so kindly have one you can use which is effective. I didn't indicate them here, but they're there. Then we have cleaning of vehicles, disinfection of the premises, and footwear disinfection. After cleaning, we need to follow the other step of disinfection. The other measures in place for control of diseases, we have vaccination. My friend said they have big vaccines. We can do vaccination. We need to do also traceability, whereby we are able to locate the movement of the pigs from their origin to the market. And then transparency. That will really be key for prevention of diseases. Maybe to crown it all is the semen figures in the country. Just to note, currently we don't have any pig semen production facility in this country. But from the look from us, we need one. Yes, we need pig semen production because the demand is there. What I have here are figures of the semen imports we've had. The first semen import occurred around 2014. But as you can see, the trend is really growing from 20. Now this year we are at 270. And the different breeds being imported from different countries. It's an opportunity for us to note we have one who has applied to start one, which is official now in Limuru. If anyone wants to start one, it is doable. Are we together? Yeah. So we will always advocate for it to be done in the right way. Okay? Yeah. So I'll say really VUCA Enterprise is one of those farms which is importing semen, and the semen imported is really doing well. Yeah. We've been able, one of my colleagues has been able to visit the farm. So we are really happy with what VUCA is doing. And we will really advocate them to continue and see how they can grow the industry and the other farmers can benefit from some of these imported genetics. Because with the imported genetics, we have also diversity. We are able to get other genes from outside so that we can be able to improve our local genetics. Thank you.
At least have you gotten some good information? I'm telling you some of the things we are doing wrong is because we don't have that kind of information. We were fearing to get to the government because we all know that maybe once you want to do something, getting some information may be very hard. But last year we said, now that we want to improve on our health, we have to work with the government. We didn't know anyone. We just went. I got an email from a friend. No, actually I visited Kabete during the lockdown, and someone gave me Dr. Kinga's number. And once I called her, she answered my call, and we started communication immediately, like writing emails and all that. And it was very easy for us. It wasn't very easy, but from their office, it was very easy because we knew the steps that we had to follow so that we can import pig semen. And it was very, very successful. We already have our first bones from what we imported last year. And we are now doing our second lot, and we thank God for that. So information is very important. That was Dr. Osoro in the opening remarks. We have Mr. Kamau, who is going to take us through the next 10 minutes with the current pork industry overview in Kenya. What are the current pork industry right now? So he is so experienced in that. Let's give him a clap as it comes. I met him some time back and I found him so rich with some good information on pig farming. And
thank you very much. As you have heard, my name is Francis Kamau. It's good to see you here looking about the pig industry. It's a very big industry worldwide. I have a passion in the industry. I started dealing with the pigs in 1968. And I can remember the instructor who was teaching us about pigs. He's called Mr. Van Kroman D. Nielsen from Denmark. And we still communicate with him today. I think most of you know the old Uplands Bacon Factory. It was the biggest pork factory in East and Central Africa. I was working with them in 1977 in the pig production. I was working on a farm where we had 200 sows, and we were selling between 45 and 60 baconers every weekend for slaughter. And then it was a parastatal. It went down, and I had to shift and I joined Farmer's Choice. So I joined Farmer's Choice in 1981. It was a small company then. I was in field work, and I worked with them from 1981 to 2017. That's when I resigned, and I'm now on my own. When we were in Farmer's Choice, we used to train farmers every week. And on field visits, I noted the problems farmers face in pig production. So I decided it's good to create time and an agency where we can meet with the farmers and look at the problems they are facing and look at the way forward. Because this is a big industry and it has got a very bright future. Sijui kama mnajua nguruwe ndio inakuliwa kwa wingi kuliko nyama zote duniani. About half of the meat eaten in the world is pork. Previously, fish was supplying most of what people needed. But as we study today, most of the major world fishing areas are overfished to the extent they cannot replenish themselves. So, you cannot get enough protein from the oceans. The future of giving people enough protein is going to come from pork. So, it's an industry which has got a very big future. When we talk about feeding people, of course, populations matter. See, usually our government was doing census, and we are about 57 million people. There's a very big controversy between the Bible and science when people started appearing on this earth. The origin might not be important to us now. What is important is that the world population reached 1 billion in 1800. 1 billion. And that was 1800. In 1927, we had 2 billion people in the world. Science talks about people being on earth for millions of years. But all those years were not many people in the world. So it's only 1800 that we got just 1 billion. In 1927, we got 2nd billion. In 1960, we got another billion. In 1974, we got 4 billion people. Currently, we have got how many people? It's about 7.something billion. So, you are the only generation who are going to see the doubling of the human population. So, feeding people your business. So, the potential is there. And as we have seen, pork is the meat being eaten most in the whole world. So it has got a very big future. Sawa sawa. And when you look at the consumption trends, Europe is a major consumer of pork. And then they look at how much meat a person is eating in a year. And in Europe, Germans are the leading consumers of pork. And you talk of between 40 and 57 kilos per person per year. 50 to 57 kilos per person per year. In the rest of Europe, it's around 20 to 30 kilos per person per year. But in Africa, the major consuming countries are South Africa and Uganda. South Africa consumes about 6 kilos per person per year. Uganda consumes about 3 kilos per person per year. But in our country, we are consuming less than half a kilo per person per year. Can you see the potential which is there? We are using less than half a kilo per person per year. If we look at people's trend in economic growth, when people are primitive, they use tubers and roots. What we keep develop further, they use large grains, maize and beans. When they progress further, they use small grains. But when people progress even further, now meat comes into the diet. And as people progress more, they don't just want any meat, they want good quality meat. And that's where fish was coming in. But because now fish is not available from the oceans, pork is supplying about half of what the world needs. Can you see the potential? So, this is an industry with a very big potential. The biggest producers of pork is China. Mnajua kuna ng'ombe ngapi? About 400 million pigs. Yes, half of the world's pigs are in China. But when you look at Africa, Uganda has only 3 million pigs. Here, you have only around 500,000 to 1 million pigs. So, we are very low in production. But because the population is increasing, the potential is increasing at a very fast rate. We say the world population has doubled from 1967 to date. But we are not likely to see another doubling of world population. But we are seeing a doubling of population in Africa. Actually, the main areas where population is growing is in Africa. Currently, we have 50 million people. By 2050, Kenya should have about 100 million people. So Africa is the only place you are seeing a doubling of human population. Now, Nigeria is leading in population in Africa, and they have about 400 million people. By 2050, they will have about 400 million people. Ethiopia is second in Africa. They have 104 million people, but they will grow to 200 million people. So the countries surrounding us are going to double in population growth. So we are sitting at an industry which is going to grow, and it's going to grow fastest in Africa. Already, the World Food Program knows that half of the world's remaining unutilized arable land is in Africa. So we have very big potential here. I tell people, you can grow peas in any part of our country. Is that not so? The only difference is how you do the houses. In cold areas, you have lower houses which are warm. In hotter areas, you have higher houses which keep circulation. So we can have peace in any part of our country. So the potential is very high. Tunaangalia places like Israel. Sinisemi arid, but the agricultural production is very high. Hapa kwetu tunasema Turkana, is dry land. Already we know Turkana, they have a lot of water underground. And as long as you have water, you can have big production in a part of our country. So actually, we are staring at an industry which has got very high potential. And is the one that's going to supply most of what the world needs. At the moment, or rather, for the last 20 years, a lot of you have traveled in many parts of our country. See, we have very huge flower farms in our country, which have come recently. Are those flowers sold here?
No.
Why are they grown here? it's more economical to do it here, and the market is in Europe. You'll realize that where they were growing those flowers in Europe are the same places they have been growing pigs. So, pig production is shifting from Europe to Africa. At the moment, pig production in Europe is a bit expensive because they use a lot of capital to get started. You have huge houses which are mechanized, feeding, cleaning, water, all those are mechanized. And they have also got facilities to keep cool when it is summer and to have warm wear in winter. So their projects are fairly expensive. But the important part is the Neema there is very particular how those people handle manure. Because manure has a lot of methane. And they are not allowed to just put them in the farm immediately. They hold them in lagoons. And because the pig is not able to finish copper and phosphorus in manure, it goes into the water table and can contaminate the water table. So the Neema is very particular about those big farms, how they handle manure. But here, we tell farmers, manure is the bonus of the farmers. So we have an advantage on that side. And in Europe, those people starting huge projects have got a lot of explanation to convince the Neema people how they are going to handle the manure because of that methane problem. But here, there are a lot of information I'm putting together, which we are trying to put to the people concerned with the financing in pig production, so they can see the many advantages which are there in pig production. And in Europe, they are moving away from these caged animals. What were animal welfare are opposed to animals being kept in cages and the like. But here, we have a lot of potential. And here, we even have farmers doing pigs outside in the paddocks. In that farm I told you I was working on, we used to have all the dry sows outside in the paddocks. And we would just feed them in the morning and the evening. Morning, component feed, evening, some fodder. So it was cheap production. Our farmers in Nanyuki, those farmers exporting horticulture products, and they're doing pork on paddocks outside. And they're using only solar. And the shelters, si mnajua zile matanki ya zamani ya meto, ya maji, wanakata nusu, wanaiweka upside down in the paddock. And the pigs are very comfortable there. The fences are done with the solar. And with the solar, nguruwe yake kugongo mara moja, hata karibia hiyo fence tena. They are very intelligent. So they have cheap construction, and they have a big project. And what is important on that side is also they are exporting horticulture. So what they can't export is being utilized for pigs. You find the baby corn, green peas, carrots. What they cannot sell, they are going to reduce the cost of production for the farmers. So we have a lot of advantages. Already the government had prepared a paper how they are going to help the pig industry to grow. This was done in 2013, 5 years, 2018. Unfortunately, it was supposed to work with the central government because it was not work with individuals, with the government. And then because you moved into devolution, so this sort of got shelved. It was showing the problems with the pig farming. Mambo ya training ya wakulima, mambo ya good breeds, mambo ya good feed, cheap, good feed, though we call it cost effective, but I tell people it's not that the cheap feed that's useful to you. You can have expensive feed, but good quality for pigs to grow faster. Also with more training on value addition. So the government has looked at the industry and is doing something to help the farmers. 2018, we had some experts from Netherlands. In Netherlands, there is a farmers training institution called Barneveld College. Now it's being called IRIS. Farmers walishikana wakafanya training school ya kutrain wakulima mambo ya pig production. And in Uplands, we used to have people go there for training 6 months on pig production. Now there is a school in Isenya which was trying to train pastoralists to move away from pastoralism, because they are dying industry, to go into intensive animal production and horticulture, because that's the future of the industry. And because they were training farmers for a short period, they were not able to give them certificates for the training. So they were giving them certificate of participation. Now, to make it official, they had to bring an expert from that school to make a curriculum here to be able to train people properly, a curriculum which can be recognized by the government. And we worked for a whole week, farmers, feed millers, people who are in meat production, to prepare a curriculum to train people properly. And we prepared a training manual which had to be used for that. Also in 2018, Regional University Forum for Professors realized we are getting problems in large-scale farms. You have a large-scale farm, you look for a good manager, he could have certificates, but when he's on the farm, he can't run a pig unit properly. So they were out to create a curriculum that should train pig management in a way that it will be effective on the farm, and a curriculum that will be recognized by the government. We did this at Baraka Farm in Moro, which is an agricultural training place, and there are professors from Egerton University and Makerere University to have a curriculum, TVET program, you know, the way the government is putting it, so that if that training you get a certificate, we know that if you're on the farm, you can do management, you can do normal treatments, you can do record keeping. But when you have a diploma, then you are able to even plan big houses. If you get, you be able to do big houses and also manufacture feeds. If you get a degree, then you are like the investor who will be able now to have a large-scale pig unit and also make feeds and also have value addition on the farms. See, that's why the government is also heading. So those curriculums were prepared, but unfortunately, they could not start to be implemented because of the COVID problem. But I know, because the government has looked at this, these are things which will be put in place, and the industry will have a firm foundation to grow into the future, because it's a big industry which has got a lot of future. You had the training of farmers in Bonneville was taking 6 weeks. So even if you sit here for a whole day or a whole week, we might not cover everything about pig production. But the main thing I have seen about pig production is efficiency. That expert from the Netherlands was telling us, because he was getting feedback from the farmers, that farmers are not paid well. He told me, here farmers are being paid 250 shillings per kilo, and they are not making money. Farmers in Netherlands are being paid 220 shillings per kilo, and they are making money, because they are more efficient. So in our training, that's where we specialize more to educate people to be more efficient in production. Because even with the current situation, our production here, we cannot compete in an international with our pork products because ours are very expensive. So the main thing which will help you as investors and as farmers is to get in a position where you'll be very efficient in production. I've got booklets that show you how to monitor your production from day one to when you market the animals, so that you can know at every stage the targets you have to set and how to monitor and know that you are going to succeed. I can give you a few points about those points, because you might not have a lot of time. So to achieve the good targets for your production, you make sure that you get minimum of 12 piglets born by your sow per liter. And that sow should give you 2 liters per year. Okay? So the details we give about the management is to show you how to work to be able to achieve those targets, and they are achievable. In my field work, I was following how people are operating and the level of our management, and you'll be surprised, most of our pig units in the country and are only able to have about, the highest was having 12 offspring from one mother per year. And the target in the world is to go up to 30. So we're actually operating at half capacity. And so the sow should be farrowed twice per year. You sell 20 bacon as minimum per sow per year. The target should be 30 for the per sow per year. And the bacon should not be more than 180 days from birth to slaughter. That's what we want to make sure we achieve. Birth rate piglets should be make sure it's more about 1 piglet should be not less than a kilo and a half. At 2 months, you don't expect your piglet to be less than 10 kilos because our average in the country is less than 10 kilos. And the piglets at 3 months in our country are only going up to about 15 kilos. And we want to make sure that we go up to 30 to 40 kilos at 3 months. And that's why you are sure that your production is effective and will be making profit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kamau. Jay is coming up to take us through pig farming basics. Jay, I've known him for 18 years. He's a good friend of mine and most of us.
So my name's Jay Wesley Dawson. Today is kind of a good and sad day for me personally. Today is my 37th wedding anniversary, and my wife is there. So, mixed emotions, obviously. Married, we have 2 grown daughters, and that's a little bit about myself. Paul and I met in ministry, trained him in discipleship 18 years ago. So he is the age that I was when I first came to East Africa. And I've been coming to Kenya since 2004, and I've come many, many times. It's probably upwards of 20 times. Also want to thank all of you for being here. We are not the most experienced people in the room, and I want us all to take advantage of everybody that is here. We have a lot of varied and a lot of strong experience right here in this room. So, why are we here today? We want, the title is Make Money in Pig Farming. We all want to make money, good money. We want to learn, so we're going to give you some profit-making tips. Some of these slides, we could spend an entire day on just one of some of these slides and understanding each of these slides, but we don't have that time, we don't have that luxury. We want to understand profit in our pig business. And number 3 is very, very important. There are some key people here in this room with the government, people that have, so these 2 gentlemen have nearly 60 years of experience, over 60 years experience in the pork industry. We have people who are needing to be saved from poultry. We have people who have thousands, hundreds of pigs. So everywhere in between. So let's take advantage of that. So who is VUCA Agribusiness? And why do we exist? We exist to grow our agricultural capacity. Obviously, we want to make money. This is not an NGO. This is a for-profit business. Our history, Paul and I met in 2003. We were delivered from poultry. Poultry was our first project that we did, and God has delivered us from poultry and brought us to the promised land of pigs. We thank God for that. We've done some firsts in the country, and we are very proud of that. We're not the largest. We currently have 73 pigs on our farm. At this point in time, we're not trying to be a big farm, and you'll understand that as I go through and as we explain some of these things. We focus on deep litter system. That's how we are environmentally sound from that perspective, as well as it's a cost saving and a labor savings practice that we have. And it also reduces disease on our farm. So this is something that we need to understand as an industry, and some of you know, so some of this is going to be something you know, some of it's not going to be something you know, but this is a difference that we have. Eventually, every pig should be eaten. It has no other role. Pig farming is meat making. That's full stop. No matter where you are in the industry, no matter which part that you want to focus on, whether you want to sell piglets, whether you want to sell bred sows and bred gilts, whether or not you want to go wean to finish, whether or not you want to go farrow to finish, whether you're going to do a semen operation, whether you're going to be a breeder. Eventually, you're supporting the entire industry, and unlike a chicken that has dual purposes, unlike a cow that has three purposes, it can be meat, it can be milk, and it can also help plow your field. A pig comes to your farm so that eventually somebody will eat it. Everybody understand that? Therefore, this is where we believe. We believe if we, and I'm saying us, so let's talk about this and why I say we. Who is your competitor? Huh? The person sitting next to you. Are they your competitor? Yes or no? As an industry, I want us to encourage ourselves to think of us as pork providers, and that our competitors are goat, beef, fish, poultry. That's who we are competing against. As Mr. Kamau mentioned, and as Dr. Osoro mentioned, there's not enough pork here in Kenya, right? So there's more than enough for all of us to even double and even triple our operation. And we won't meet the demand. If we do not produce profitably great tasting, affordable pork, all of us will go broke, no matter where you are on this spectrum. You say, well, I just sell piglets. Great. You can make money selling piglets, but if the person downstream from you can't make money raising the piglets, guess who's going to go broke? The person raising the piglets. Guess who's going to broke next? You are. Because you have no customer. Sit here. Here's the big question. Do we make money? The answer is yes. But the most important question is, do we make profits? I'm supposed to take that off. Your farm only has 2 types of workers. So the title of this seminar really is Make Profits in Pig Farming. We don't want you to get to the end and be frustrated. Sometimes we ask other farmers, how much money are you making? And they say, oh, I got this transfer from Farmer's Choice, or I sold at 300 per kg. Okay, that's great. Then we say, how much profit did you make? I don't know. That's where, if we don't watch our businesses, that's where we're going to end up going broke. Okay? So, we want to be participating. Very simply, profit is income minus cost. All right? The components of our farm are 3 that drive our business. And Mr. Kamau hit on these. You can file them into 3 different categories. Your farm, your breed, your feed, and your management. If we are weak in any one of them, we will lose money. and Paul and my experience is we've had issues in every single category. We've had management failures. That's my fault, that's Paul's fault, okay? We've had issues with feed. How many people have had issues with feed? If you haven't had issues with feed, you're not feeding your pigs. How many of you had issues with the breed? These are the things that are eating our lunch, as we say. These are the things that these are holes in our pockets where our shillings are leaving. And we need to look at each one of those in order to improve our business. So we have a very simple goal for us today. No matter who you are. 30-some years ago, I was listening to, this is how old I am, I was listening to a cassette tape. All right, some, we have millennials if they're here, and if you've never had a cassette tape, you're missing out on nothing. Listening to a cassette on leadership. And this guy was a professional speaker, and he was going to a seminar on professional speaking. And he's in the elevator going down to listen to somebody speak to speakers. And the guy said, and it's something I haven't forgotten, he said, if I'm going to dress up and I'm going to show up, this man speaking owes me at least one quality idea. Okay? So, don't try to take it all in, because it's not possible. But I want you to set a goal. Our goal is that each and every one of you, regardless of whether you're thinking about going into the business or you've been in the business, we want to give you at least one money-saving idea. Does that interest anybody here? Yes. Okay? So if we haven't gotten to that at the end, you say, Jay, I didn't get one quality idea. I didn't get one new idea. We'll give you your money back. Or Paul will give you your money back. This seminar, we've just basically covered costs. Are we together? The basics of higher profits in your business, in my business, in any business. Reduce costs, reduce loss. So you have your input costs, and you want to bring them down. That could be labor, could be water, could be energy, could be raw materials, could be facilities. We want to bring those costs down because we have to pay for those things, right? The one that hurts us as farmers the most hurts, and we mean emotionally. If Paul and I are into farming and not into growing stuff, I'm into farming and not into growing plants.
Still looking for someone who can lend you money at the end of the month?
Yes, I am. I'm still looking for someone to give me money at the end of the month. Is because I like the interaction and the responsibility of raising another bee. You have pigs on your farm, okay? So let me convert you and let me warn you. If you bring a pig onto your farm, they will be the smartest being on your farm. They have nothing better to do than to figure things out. And they'll see you do something, and next thing you know, they're trying to do it. Is that not right? And so we had to discipline an animal because she was working on the latch to the gate. I don't want her figuring that out. Okay? So, what I say, it hurts me personally because we are personally invested in each one of our pigs. And when a pig dies on our farm, it is a sad day for Paul and myself. And it's first sad because of the death. The second sadness is because of the financial loss. But it is not fun to pull a piglet out of your farrowing pen and have to put it on the burn pit. It's not fun. So we want to reduce the losses. Now we want another way, so that's on the cost side. Now on the income side, we can produce more, we can sell more, but it's really good when you sell more for more. Are you with me? That's where we want to go. We want to sell more for more. All right. Each one of us needs to answer this question. Why do you want to raise pigs? What business model are you planning on using? And then how will you make your profits? So you need to understand your costs, your customers, and the capital that you need. A dangerous part of the pork industry is this. When demand stops, we have no alternative use for the pig. Whereas cattle, you can just move them to pasture. They can eat grass. But pigs, they keep eating, keep eating, keep eating, and that means your profits are going down, 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 down. So you have to liquidate fast. That is a lesson learned that Paul and I have from the poultry industry, is when things are moving down, make your decision quick. So that's our first tip, make decisions quick. Evaluate your options and then make your decision quickly. Because every day that you have that pig on the farm, if it's a grown pig, it's eating about 2.5 kilos of profit every day. And if you don't have a ready market for it, or if the market is going down, then you need to liquidate. That is preserving your profits. If you don't understand your capital needs, you will start something and not be able to complete. So it's nice to say, oh, I want to have a big farm, but the capital required based on your business model that you use. So you need to understand what that is going to be. So if you're doing a farrow to finish, meaning you have grown sows and you're going to finish them out at market weight, do we have enough capital to feed that animal properly before they get to market? Are you with me? Count the cost before you initiate. So going back to this slide here, it's actually in order of complexity. The easiest thing to do is to get a piglet and grow it to finishing. The hardest two things to do is to be a semen producer and to develop a breed, to develop breeding stock. So that's one of the lessons learned from us as well. Our focus is down here. Our mission says that we're here to grow your agricultural capacity. And we believe that one of the best ways that we can do that is to improve the breed that we have here on the ground. Anybody who has landrace? Who has pigs who have landrace? Who have large white? Who have Duroc? Who has done any genetic testing to say that you really have what you said you have? None of us. And that's the challenge that we have as an industry right now, is that and we're going to talk a little bit about that, because we don't have enough time to really dive deeply into that. But we don't know. If we're being honest, we don't know. We do not have genetic records. We do not know the genetic history. And And that's something that we're looking to improve personally. When we chose our piglets, we went to a very good farm, one of the best farms that we know of. And we started with 19 gilts and 6 barrels. And the reason we pulled the 6 barrels was we felt that we needed the opportunity to get some early cash. All right, so that was our strategy. Now we went there, we go into a traditional pen, and there were at least 20 piglets in there. Anybody see a problem with that? What's the problem with that?
The teeth are not down.
20 piglets in the same pen. And we're choosing our first batch of pigs. Does anybody see a problem with that?
Was they from the same mother or son?
I would, if they were, that's on, you're onto it. What's the problem?
I think there was no enough space for them.
That's not the problem. In this case, that was not the problem.
They are all related. They are related to each other.
That's close. What's the problem? The problem is, we don't have pigs here that can produce 20, do we? Do we have sows that can produce 20 consistently?
Very rare.
All right, so what does that mean?
You are mixed.
So that and that, put them together, they may or may not be related. So the only way for me to know whether or not sow A and sow B are related is for me to do a genetic test. So essentially, I have to assume that all the sows on my farm are related. Are you getting me? So that immediately puts me as a breeder back, because I don't know my diversity. And that's why it's important for us, here's the next tip, know your herd and mark your herd. Tattooing or ear, okay? You tag your ear, or you tattoo, or you cut the ear, or you do all three. We tagged the ears initially, and didn't work out so well. And the reason is, pigs are some of the smartest animals and the most curious animals, and so they're like, what's this on your ear? Let me taste it. How many of us have had 2-year-olds? How many of us had 2-year-old children? Raise your hand. What do 2-year-olds do? Everything goes where? Pigs are 2-year-olds, except they're 300 pounds. So the pig investigates through their nose and their mouth. So they're chewing on the tags. The next thing you know, we wake up in the morning, we inspect our herd, and we have tags missing or in our pen. So we tattoo. Know your herd. And it's very important for us to know the herd, so that if you want to grow your herd internally, you need to understand who's related to who, so that you don't inbreed and further dilute the genetics of your herd. Our genetics as a country are very, 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 very poor. I'm not being critical, I'm just being honest. Okay? Are you with me? So everything, unfortunately, starts with here, and it affects everything downstream. So I'm going to end with this slide before we have our Paul, is the tea ready? Okay. On your farm, you have 2 workers, 2 categories of workers. And to understand your profits, you need to understand where you are. You have money makers and you have profit takers. Okay? You're either a money maker or you're a profit taker. And that means, profit taker, it means it's coming out of your pocket. It's not making you money. Profit taker is not a positive term here. Are you with me? What category do all of us fall into? Are we money makers? Are you with me? Are we money makers? No. We are profit takers. Our money makers are the ones that are making meat. Are we going to cut off our arm and take it to the market? Are you with me? I ask you again, yes or no? Are we money makers? We are what? Profit takers. Which means I want to minimize the amount of time and labor that I put into my farm, and the same thing for every single person on our farm. Because the more time that they take, the more money they're taking out of our pockets. Are you with me? So if I can design a system where one person can handle 300 pigs, that's better than a system where one person can only handle 100 pigs, right? As soon as we understand that, the better we understand it, the more critical we will look at our business. Our role is to help the moneymakers. We're there to serve them. We're there to make their life easy. And we're there to control costs. Because all of us that have pigs know that pigs don't care about your structure. Is that right? In fact, they will eat it. Is that correct? It doesn't matter what it is. If it's a nail, they'll find it, they'll chew on it and play with it. They might swallow it, but where does it usually end up? In the feed trough. Rocks, they eat. Wood, they eat. Concrete, they eat. Is that not true? So our job is to make it harder for the money makers to take money out of our pocket. So in facility design, in structures, in spacing. So I'm going to give you another tip as a break. On our farm, we do not dock our tails. Are you with me? We do not dock our tails. Why? It takes somebody down here, it takes a profit taker time to dock a tail, which means they're not doing something more valuable. Are you with me? You say, well, what about tail biting? Right? We use the tail as a management tool for the farm. What do you mean? How do pigs communicate with you? With their tail, with their vocalization, with their posture. Right? If you spring up on a pig, what do? Ears up, they're looking at you, and they freeze. That's their prey response. They consider something new a predator. But they communicate with you through their tail. They're like a dog. If they're happy, their tail's just going. You want to walk upon your pen and see tails just moving or pigs sleeping. Right? If they're biting, that is a stress response, which means The profit takers are not serving the money makers, which means we are doing something wrong. If there's tail biting, we are doing something wrong. It is not necessarily a natural response. It is a stress response. That response might be not enough feed, not enough space, or you might have a pig on your farm that you need to cause an early slaughter. You might have a bully pig that just bites tails. That's harassment. We don't deal with that on our farm. All right? So that is your second tip. Don't take the time or money to dock tails. Let them be. Use them as a management tool. Teach your workers, teach yourself. Observe your pig. What's happening when they're happy? What is the tails doing? Walk up to your pen. Do I have any bloody tails? If you do, figure out why. Why do I have that? Why are they stressed? If they're stressed, they're using calories, and if they're using calories as a stress response, that means they're not making what? Meat.